Hey, brother, thanks for joining me today, man.
Hey man, John, man, glad to be here, man, and connect with you, man. Nothing like connecting with like another Baylor Bear.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, speaking of, what years were you there?
Man, I was there, man, from 1991 through 1995.
Okay. So you were there. I graduated in 91. So you were just right behind me, man.
Yep, I was right behind you. So I missed you by 1 year.
Dude, you don't look nearly as old as I do. So dude, tell me your story, man. Where did you play? I mean, where did you grow up? Were you here in Texas or how did you get to Baylor?
I actually grew up. I grew up here in Texas. My mom and dad are originally from East Texas. They're from Jasper, Texas. And so pretty much everybody I run into in Walmart, I'm actually related to when I go back to Jasper. But it being a small town with like maybe like about two or three stoplights. But my family moved in the early 70s to Houston because of job opportunities. And so I actually grew up in the inner city of Houston in Third Ward. And growing up in Third Ward, as you can know, wasn't the easiest thing. I mean, it's almost like inner city urban environment for the most part. And there was a lot that I had to overcome, deal with, and go through as a young man.
So how in that process of growing up in the inner city, how big of an influence was your dad through your life and helping you in whatever way stay connected to God and stay grounded in his word? Because I know now you're doing some amazing things. So kind of connect the dots for me there.
Okay, man. Man, John, when I think about my father, man, my father, he was, and he still is an awesome man. But from a biblical standpoint, he wasn't like a spiritual leader in our household. It was my mother, but my dad, he was there, he was present. And one thing that I actually learned from my dad, one thing I actually learned from my dad was that you got to work. I mean, and when you work, you got to work hard. Both something actually I instilled from both my mom and my dad, but from a spiritual perspective, my dad, he really wasn't a spiritual guy. Um, he really wasn't one that actually was willing to go to church each and every week. It was more so my mother really taking on that role. But there were things that I experienced over my life, my journey, from coaches and other individuals who actually impacted my life, who were believers, that I really leaned on from a spiritual standpoint in regards to just guiding me in the way in which a man should live from a biblical standpoint.
So let's talk a little bit further about that. And we'll get back to your mom. But who were one or two of those guys that really came into your life throughout your career and influenced you in your walk?
Man, when it comes to like that influencing me in my walk, I mean, hands down, it was Dennis Brantley. Coach Dennis Brantley was my coach. I actually met in 1987 as an eighth grader at Crystal McCullough Middle School in Fort Bend Independent School District. And the thing about Coach Brantley, John, this is how he introduced me to Bible study. Of course, everybody's familiar with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. And one morning, one day, he actually told me, Tyrone, I want you to come to our Bible study. And I'm like, Coach, what time is a Bible study? He was like, Tyrone, the Bible study is at like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, Coach, I'm not getting up before school to come to a Bible study at 6:30 in the morning. He was like, we're gonna have free donuts and orange juice. I was like, hold on one second. Sign me up. All right. But I had no idea, John, that free donuts and orange juice is going to change my life. And so here it is, Coach Dennis Brantley. He was a man that loved the Lord, that honored the Lord, and all that he has done and still do to this day. And by me going to these Bible studies through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that was led by Coach Brantley, it helped me realize and recognize and know that God had a purpose and plan for me in my life, despite the things that I was dealing with and going through. Because at that time in my life, my mom and my dad had went through a divorce. And at that time, I was really seeking and searching as a young man, trying to figure out my identity, trying to figure out who I am. I was dealing with self-esteem issues. I was dealing with issues of being accepted and being bullied. And so I had all these different things going on. But connecting with Coach Brandley was really instrumental in my change in my life moving forward, because I was able to know that I could still use by God. And in the eighth grade is when I connected with my life scripture. And my life scripture is Proverbs 3:5-6, that states, trust in the Lord with all your heart. In all your ways, acknowledge him, for he will lead your way and direct your path. So in the eighth grade, by way of Coach Brandley, connecting me to the Lord really challenged me to be all that God has called me to be. Not saying that I was perfect, but yet I had somebody I can look at as a model and really help guide and support my life here as a man, as a Christian man. And he was somebody to this day I talk to at least once a month, John. Even so much so, he was my coach in middle school. Then he moved to the high school I went to. And even so much so, when I went to Baylor in the off season, in the summer, when I would come home, since he was my hurdle coach and track coach, he would train me in the summer and the off season. And when I played professional football, he was my personal trainer during the off season as well. So he's been instrumental in my life, man, in regards to everything I've done and been through and experienced as a young man. So I thank God for him every day. And like I said, we talk at least once a month, sometimes two, three times a month.
That is so cool, man. I know, especially for all the coaches out there to hear, the real influence that they have. And I know most coaches understand that and know that, even at the middle school level and high school level. And
Right,
coaches played a big part in my life, growing up without a father
right.
and having somebody kind of help guide me through various pieces. But how old were you when your mom and dad got divorced?
I was right like 13 years old when my mom and my dad got divorced.
So is your mom and dad still alive, both?
Yeah, my mom and dad is still alive. I actually stayed, my family and I, we stayed right outside of Houston, Katy, Texas. And my mom and dad are actually both in the nursing home. Matter of fact, they're in the same nursing home.
Wow. How
Yeah.
did your dad, good, bad, and indifferent, how did he influence you growing up? Because I know that's a little bit of an interesting situation. And I don't know if you lived away from him, what kind of relationship once he left or once they divorced. Kind of tell me a little bit more about that.
I mean, the thing about it is one thing, what I've actually learned, John, about my dad in regards to where I am right now. I've had to take a deeper look as an adult to just realize, like, really who is Tyrone Smith. And I understand and know that, we learn a lot from our fathers, whether it be directly or indirectly. And lately, man, I've taken a deeper look from a mental health standpoint, man, to actually to seek out a counselor to really go over things that I've done and experienced in my life, and that my family have done and experienced in my life that have really shaped who I am. But yet, how can I, get beyond various cycles and failures that have actually happened, so I don't pass that on to my sons. And so, with that being said, as I said earlier, my dad was present and he was there. But it's one thing to be present and there and work, but it's another thing to be intentional in your presence. And I can say this, that my dad, was a provider. He was one that actually worked hard. He was one that really cared for the family. But yet there were things that he did outside the family that really, caused he and my mom to actually like divorce and separate. And in turn, I've had to pretty much like look at myself to see, what can I do to be a better version of what my father was to me in regards to my personal relationship with my sons. And so what I've actually been doing lately, man, I've been actually seeing a mental health professional and really just kind of just going back, to the past based on how my dad did things and my mom and my dad's marriage in regards to how it affected, the dynamic between them. Because growing up, I asked my dad, John, I said, Dad, even as an adult, I said, can you tell me why did you and mom divorce? And he said, you'll never know. And I was like, as an adult and grown man, you won't tell me why. But now I knew the reason why to a degree, but I want to know, could we have that conversation? Because the thing about it is, I want to be the best that I can be. And my dad had a relationship actually outside the marriage, and I actually have a half sister that's 6 months younger than me. And I never did understand and know why when I was younger, John, that here it is, I'm like 4 or 5 years old with Santa Claus, me and my brothers, and my half sister is there, and she's in the picture with us. And I'm like, when I was younger, like, how is she my sister? Right? And nobody was smiling in the picture. So that speaks to all the dynamics that was going on, like in the household. So I'm at a point in my life to just figure out what can I do to be better as a man before God? What can I do to be a better husband? What can I do to not make the same mistakes that my father made, knowing that there's things that I saw him do that may have seemed functional, but yet they were dysfunctional. And so that's why I thank God every day for a new life, man, to look inwardly at myself to see what can I do to be the best version of myself. And not that I've been perfect, but I'm at a point and place in my life, man, that I want to honor God in all that I do in regards to being the best husband and the best father to my sons and to my family.
Dude, I love it. And just the your willingness, because not a lot of guys will do this. And I remember I went and saw a Christian counselor, and I've told this story many times where before I'd go, I'd tell my wife, "Hey, don't tell anybody I'm going to see a counselor."
Right,
Because as
right,
men, especially, it's that machismo that we want to act like we're,
right,
bigger men than what we really are.
right,
And it's this idea of going and seeing a counselor, psychologist, or mental health expert, whatever. There's
right,
like a weakness somehow in that. But no, the reality of it is I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for my counselor really pushing me, encouraging me, loving me, challenging me to walk through this process of forgiveness for my father. And that's what
right,
radically changed my life. So, dude, I love the fact that you said that. We need more men admitting and being willing to do
right,
that.
right, right. I mean, I think that's key, man, because the thing about it is, I heard a pastor say one time that, you can walk around life as if you have peace, and people may see you as if you're peaceful, but yet, internally, your life is broken in pieces and broken in so many pieces that you have no peace. And so the thing about it is, from the outside looking in, you look okay, but internally, man, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's where I'm at right now, John, in my life, man. I'm not too big, man, to know that I can actually change. I'm not too big to take an inward look at myself to know that, I have faults. I made mistakes, but yet I recognize that a lot of what I've actually experienced in life, man, has been a part of this functioning in dysfunction, and going and seeing a mental health therapist that can really help me dissect that to kind of know that it can and will be better is what I thank God for. And when I think back to just the first opportunity in time that I can recall where mental health was really of need was when I played for the 49ers. I mean, out of respect, man, for one of my teammates, I mean, I won't say his name, but he had signed on with the team and, had quite a few guys had, nice contracts. And I was an undrafted free agent. But yet, one of my teammates, he was really going through a lot, man, to the point he put all his stress and undue pressure on himself because he wasn't performing the way that they thought he should be performing. And so, man, he was going through so much that they had a therapist, man, come in and really just like sit down with him, man, and really just try to help him get beyond the negative mindset and focus that he was actually like stuck in so he can actually move forward and get beyond where he was. And it was just really just talking him through what he was dealing with mentally so he can have a better perspective to know that, man, he's still okay. But it's about, how can we get you out of this place and space where you are mentally because it's affecting everything in your life, even off the field as well. And so that was my first time really seeing when I played for the 49ers that, if you're willing, there's plenty of people out there to help and support you regardless of what you're dealing with and going through, if it's in life or if it's in football field, or if it's even at work, man. So, but like you said, the key is, guys being honest, open, genuine, and real with themselves to get to a point in place and space where they go seek and get the help.
Dude, and what you said is so key, I think, and men need to hear the
Yep.
message you are not alone,
Yep.
right? Because most of us think we are. We isolate, that goes into that could be a whole nother conversation. So
Definitely, definitely.
it's in that isolation that Satan attacks us, man, and
Right,
wears us out and gets us to where next thing you know, where we're sitting in front of a computer looking at porn or we're drinking or smoke, whatever, whatever
right,
our junk
right.
is. Now piece together the story from Baylor to the 49ers. What's the story there?
Okay. The story, John, from Baylor to the 49ers, man, was truly like a God thing. Now here it is, John. I'm a kid. I love playing the game of football, and football was my outlet and my resource. But people always picked on me and said, Tyrone, you can't play football, dude. You're too small, you're too skinny, you got a big head, you crawl all the time, you're not good enough, you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not cute enough. So the haters were against me, man. And so here it is. I was picked on, antagonized, and bullied. But yet football was my outlet and my resource. And so my own mother didn't even want me to play football. She was like, you're my youngest son. I don't want you to get hurt or injured. So she said, if you want to play football, you have to pay your own registration fee. So when I played for the Windsor Redskins, I had to pay my own registration fee. And that summer, John, I started my own business, Tyrone Cut Your Yard business. So here it is. I'm charging people $5 to cut the front, $5 to cut the back, $2 a suite. Played for the Windsor Redskins, man. It was a phenomenal season. I had no idea, John, what position I wanted to play. The coach said, son, what position do you want to play? I'm like, coach, I don't know. I just want to hit somebody. He said, okay, son, I'm going to put you on offensive line, defensive line. You would hit somebody every play. So I played offensive tackle, defensive tackle, but it was the most fun ever, John. We went 1-9. We only won one football game, and we only won that one football game, John, because the other team didn't show up, but we still had a party. You know what I mean? So here it is. I'm coming to Baylor now, John. So here it is. Seventh grade played on the B team, eighth grade B team, ninth grade B team. Sophomore year, I played on the sophomore team at Willow Ridge High School. My junior year, I played on the JV squad. I didn't play varsity until my senior year. They had no choice but to put me on varsity. So then here it is, my senior year, man. I'm like all over the football field. I'm like having a phenomenal time. I mean, I'm like Bobby Boucher, man. I'm hitting everything on the field, man. And so I played so well my senior year. I had over 50 Division I offers. Baylor, Ohio State, Temple, TCU, Rice, UNLV, over 50 Division I offers. And I just knew it was a God thing because all I was doing, John, was going out there having fun, but I was actually executing the game at a high level. And one thing about me as a player, I wasn't always the biggest or the fastest kid, but I was very technically sound. I mean, I had pretty good speed, but yet my fundamentals and everything were pretty intact. And so whatever a coach told me to do, I would try to implement it in my game as well as implement it in practice. So I was a very smart player. So I played so well. I had all these offers. I got my first letter from Iowa State. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Iowa State. They looked at me first. I went to Iowa State in December of my senior year. Um, I saw all that snow. I was like, I'm not coming to this school. So uh, I visited my 5 visits. I was going to was Iowa State, Rice because it was close to home in Houston, Baylor, TCU, and Temple. All right. Visited Rice. It was pretty cool. Visited Baylor. When I went to Baylor, I visited Baylor. Man, loved the school. Man, it just was just like a God thing. When I went there on the visit, checked out the campus, went in the Hilton Hotel there in downtown Waco to meet with Coach Grant Taft, the awesome, famous, special coach of coaches, Grant Taft. So we're there in the Hilton. We're meeting. He's giving me his spiel, asking me what I thought about the weekend. I was like, Coach Taft, I'm going to commit to Baylor. He was like, well, son, why didn't you tell me at the beginning? I said, man, I want to hear everything you had to say, because he's such an awesome speaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I committed to Baylor when I went on my visit. And after I left Baylor, I didn't visit TCU or Temple because I felt that I made a commitment to Baylor that I shouldn't visit any other schools. And so there it is, man. That's how I made my way to Baylor, man, as a one-year starter on varsity. And just truly grateful and thankful for the opportunity. But one thing the coaches and schools appreciated about me is that as a student athlete, my grades were in line. I'd already passed the SAT. I'd already passed the ACT. So I was somebody they can actually count on, despite the fact I was a one-year starter on varsity. But I just thank God for that opportunity. And then when I went to Baylor, man, it just went to a whole nother level.
Now, how did the draft go and how did you end up connecting with 49ers? How'd you get on with those guys?
When I was an undrafted free agent.
Mm.
And the crazy thing though, John, is about the testament, man, of character was that when I got to Baylor, I thought that no football player was going to beat me deep as far as a wide receiver. I was a cornerback. Because in high school, no wide receiver caught a touchdown on me. No wide receiver caught a ball on me over 20 yards. So I came in with this mindset like, man, I played well my senior year in high school. I'm going to do the same thing in college. It was a whole nother reality once I got there. But at Baylor, I was a 3-year starter. And so I played cornerback my freshman year, but I worked really hard on the scout team while at Baylor, John. And I worked so hard on the scout team my true freshman year that I still traveled with the team as a red shirt. And when I traveled with the team as a red shirt and I played so well on the scout team, the next year, Coach Taft moved me to wide receiver. And I didn't want to play wide receiver. And so he moved me to wide receiver. I'm behind the seniors. Then the next year, Coach Larry Fedor, who was a GA my freshman year, which Larry Fedor is back on staff at Baylor now. But his first full-time job from a GA, he was a wide receiver coach at Baylor. And so the year he got the wide receiver job, all the wide receivers graduated. I was returning long wide receiver as a starter. he got the job. He like, Tyrone, we about to dominate, man. This is my first time coaching in college. It's a full-time job. You my guy. I said, Coach, I don't want to play wide receiver. He's like, what do you mean? I said, Coach, I came here to play cornerback. I came here to hit people and not get hit. He said, Tyrone, you mean you want to move to defensive back corner where you're going to be like number 7 on the depth chart, and then wide receiver, you're number 1. I said, Coach, I want to play defense. So went to defense in the spring. I was a number 7 corner. Coming out of spring, I was the number 1 corner, right? They said, you want right or left corner since you're the number 1 corner, Tyrone. I said, give me left corner because I'm right-handed. So here it is from that moment on, man. 3-year starter, man. Grateful and thankful for the opportunity there at Baylor. But my senior year, John, I got injured halfway through the season playing the University of Houston, where I actually fractured like a couple of ligaments in my ankle. I was a projected draft pick because I went to Baylor and graduated in 4 years. Although I redshirted, I graduated in 4 years. And my last year, I was taking grad level classes in grad school. So my last year where I'm on the field and I had already graduated, I could really focus on the NFL. But now, mind you, I got injured in the middle of the season. I'm a projected draft pick. I missed most of the season. I was in a dark space, man. I was questioning God. I'm like, man, why now? I did everything the right way. Not that I was perfect, but I did everything the right way. First, my family to go to and through college to actually accomplish this great feat, doing the right thing. And now here it is, I can focus on NFL, which has been a lifelong dream. And now I see it as not being a reality, but I had to get out of that dark place and space and go back to my life scripture, Proverbs 3:5-6. I had to trust in the Lord in that moment, despite the fact I was being selfish. You know what I mean? Because as men, sometimes we tend to be selfish. And sometimes, and even in that, I was dealing with anxiety because I'm thinking about the NFL so much. And now here it is a reality, but it was me being selfish. I mean, you know, the middle letter in the word anxiety is I was focusing on what I wanted, you know, but yet God could have had another purpose and plan for me. And I had to be true to that. And so when I got out of that funk, man, just know it wasn't about me. Man, got back and played maybe the last 2 games of the season, ended up being an undrafted free agent with the 49ers. And that was truly life-changing for me.
Dude, what a story, man, of resilience and just wow, there's a lot packed into that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's get into you being a dad. And I know you said with this coach that you still stay in contact with from middle school, he's
Yep,
probably been a big influence on you. But
big
what's
influence.
what's been your biggest struggle as a father and how have you overcome it?
I think the biggest thing for me as a father, John, is really like that work family life balance. You know, because one thing I did gain from my father was really like being a hard worker, man. And I'm a very hard worker. And one of the things that I had to do, and one thing I thank God for is my wife, Monica, man. She's an awesome woman of God that really supports me in everything that I do and have done. Is that really just helping me and reminding me of that whole work-life balance? Because at one point, I remember John, TJ, my oldest son, he's 13 years old. And I remember when TJ was about maybe 5 or 6 years old, he was playing flag football. And when he was playing flag football, Monica and I were at the practice watching TJ go through his practice. And he was going through his practice and he's getting about to get in the game. He was in the game. And he's in the game and they put him at running back and they toss him the football. And in my mind, I'm sitting up here thinking, I'm like, man, TJ is about to give them the business. He about to put that Smith family sweet feet on these kids. He about to shake them out their shorts, go for a touchdown, score, do it big, not celebrate, and give the ball back to the referee. So I mean, in my mind, I'm saying I know he's going to do an awesome job when they toss him the ball. And so when they tossed TJ the ball, TJ got the ball, John, and he just stopped. I was like, hold on, like, you're not gonna give him the sweet feet, the Smith sweet feet? You're not gonna give him like the juke move? So when they tossed TJ the ball, he just stopped. And then when he stopped, they just like yanked his flags. And I'm sitting there like, man, like he didn't know to do a juke move. I mean, he didn't know to like give it to him. And Monica said something. Monica's like, Tyrone, I mean, you hadn't practiced with him. You hadn't spent time with him to let him know what it is that he needs to do in regards to execution. And I was convicted from that, man. And from that moment on, I've been the assistant coach or support coach for all my son's teams, man. And not that I'm saying I've been perfect, but I realized, man, I gotta be there, man, for them. I gotta be there to show them. It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to actually do. Right, right. It's one thing to say you're going to do something. It's another thing to actually put your words in action. And so I truly feel and believe, man, that we have to put our words in action and let our words bring meaning, life, hope, and inspiration to our kids. And that's one thing I'm really intentional about doing, man, in every sense of the word, because from that moment, I took so many different things out of that. Yeah, it's one thing to actually work and be so busy you can provide for the family, but what about that intentional quality support time in the lives of your kids? And with my dad, that's one thing, John, that I didn't have because he worked so much. But one thing I wanted to do was make sure I would do that and be there for my sons as well.
Dude, and that's something I think a lot of us struggle with. I know I've struggled with it through my life, and I think most men do, if they're honest with you.
Right, right,
It's like,
right,
what does that balance look like? And I catch myself even today where I'm like, whoa, hold on
right,
a second. And
right,
my wife will come in and say, hey, dude, you're working way too much. Get out of the office
right,
and let's go hang with the family.
right,
So
right.
I get it. What's the best thing about being a dad?
The best thing to me about being a dad, man, is being able to be a true example, man, to our kids, to kind of just like speak life, speak hope, speak guidance, to really prepare them for the life that they're going to live. And one thing that has always stuck with me is that I'm good friends with Brad McCoy and Colt McCoy. And I remember years ago when I was doing work with FCA, FCA had invited Brad McCoy and Colt McCoy to come and speak. And Brad and I, Colt's dad, were really good friends. And and it was to fathers, and they was asking Brad about the father-son relationship. And Brad said the biggest thing that he appreciates as a father is preparing his sons and his sons for life. And he said, I'm really excited about preparing, Colt and his brothers like for life. And I take that same thing as well, because he said what we've done in raising Colt was preparing him for the path, not preparing the path for him. And one thing I appreciate is really preparing my kids, preparing TJ and Tyler, man, for life from a biblical perspective. From a biblical perspective, God's really giving them a purpose and a position and a passion in life. But in that, if you can honor the Lord and all you're called and led to do, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna make mistakes, but if you live within the way that God will call you to live, you're gonna be okay. So our duty is really trying to instill in our sons what it means to be a Christian young man in today's world, and to know that you still can succeed despite what others say, think, or feel about you as a person. So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy giving them that insight and that wisdom, because that was something, John, that wasn't given to me. So because it's one thing for me to know to be a Christian and to be a follower of Christ and make my position in Christ a lifestyle, but it's another thing to make it a lifestyle and show my sons. So I really appreciate the fact and opportunity to be able to just, share with them in that sense. I mean, so that's why, like I said, I mean, even at the school that they go to, man, they go to Cypress Christian School. I'm the middle school wide receiver and defensive back coach. As busy as I am with the nonprofit, with the speaking, with the books, with the virtual coaching and all these, the staff development, with everything I do, I'm the middle school wide receiver and defensive back in my son's school. I volunteer my time. My wife ran track at Baylor, John. We're the middle school track coaches.
Dude, I
You know what I mean?
love it, man.
I mean, and Tyler, he plays baseball. John, I don't know a lick about baseball, bro. I am the assistant baseball coach. I keep the dugout in order. You know what I mean? I make sure everybody on point, on task. So being a living example, man, to my sons is what I appreciate. And so I try to model that every day. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try to model that every day in regards to the time and the position that I have based on the purpose that God has given me as a father.
Amen, brother. I love it, man. If you got, as we wrap up, if you could give a piece of advice to a dad who's a brand new dad, what's the one thing you'd tell him?
Man, the one thing I would tell a brand new dad, man, is embrace the moment, man. Embrace the moment. And when I say embrace the moment, that's like a loaded statement. When you think about embrace the moment as a father, what is the most that you can do in the moment and the time that you have with your children? Think about it. If you can embrace the moment, if embracing the moment is being being present and intentionally present, that's embrace the moment. If embrace the moment is pretty much sacrificing something so you can be there for your kids, that's embrace the moment. If you can embrace the moment and be a part of something that you're not really comfortable in doing, but you're stretching yourself to be a part of your child's life, that's embracing the moment. If you can embrace the moment and to think about things that maybe you know that are right, that your father didn't do, that you felt and wish that your father did, that you have the opportunity to do, embrace that moment. Embrace the
Yeah.
moment is if you got to take a deeper inward look at yourself to see what it is you need to address to be the best father that you can be. Embrace the moment. So if I had anything to say, it's to a father, a new father, is really think about your purpose and your position in life of this child, and think about what more that you wanted as a child that you didn't get, but yet there's some things as a child that we had no control over. I had no control over different things were going on in my father's life, and I can't be mad at him from that, but I can change the narrative in my own family as a father. And so when you ask me that, it's about as a father, take an inward look at yourself, get quiet, get still, and think about how you can embrace the moment to be the best father that you can be to your child and the best husband that you can be to your family.
Bro, I love it. Before we get into what all you got going on project wise and everything, do give me one story, man, because I'm curious. What's your one of your favorite stories with the 49ers? Do you have one that you can recall that
I have a
fun?
couple. I have a couple. I have two. I have two. All right. So I was an undrafted free agent. This is where influence is important, and having somebody in your life, man, that you can trust and being connected with other believers, right? So, John, I was an undrafted free agent. Um, so usually after the draft, there's like 2 mini camps before training camp. There's like a mini camp in May. There's a mini camp in July. Training camp start like in late July, early August, right? So back when I was playing, had a training camp in May. Had a mini camp in May. Had a mini camp in June. Maybe a couple of other ones early June, but you typically have two, and training camp starts in July. So at least 2 mini camps. I go to the first mini camp in May. Now, when I went to the first mini camp, John, because I didn't play that much during my senior year, excuse me, and the 49ers had been recruiting me and scouting me. When I went to that first mini camp in May, John, I had to sign a waiver that if I got injured, it was on me. So basically, me going through the mini camp was like a trial, like an up close look at me, you know what I mean, as an athlete, since I missed so much time, during the season. So I signed. I'm like, okay, man, dude, this is a dream. Let me just sign. It's not. I'm good. So I go to the mini camp in May, did pretty good, handled my business. I was a little nervous, because I get Jerry Rice over there. I'm kind of starstruck. There goes Steve Young, kind of starstruck. So I went to the mini camp. I didn't go to the June mini camp because I hadn't been officially signed to a contract. So now here it is, Coach Brandley, my 8th grade coach, who I told you, he trained me in the off season. So he was my trainer each and every day. So I cross trained track and football workouts. So we're training, we're getting ready for mini camp. San Fran offered me a contract. So I come to the track to train that morning, and I wasn't in the best mood. Now, remember, Coach Brandley been knowing me since I was 13. He know my mood swings and everything, and he could tell it was a lot on my mind. He was like, Tyrone, what's going on with you today? You don't seem like yourself. He said, you worked out good, but you don't seem like yourself. I said, Coach, the 49ers offered me a contract. He's like, that's good. I'm like, no, Coach, hold on one second. They offered me a contract, but they didn't offer me a signing bonus. I was like, Coach, they the NFL. I know they got Coach, they can give me $10,000. I said, Coach, they can give me $5,000. I said, Coach, come on, man. They can give me 1,000, man. And this is what he said, John. He was like, Tyrone, you've been broke for 23 years. Be thankful for the opportunity. When he said that, man, I went to my agent, man, signed the contract, and faxed in. I know everybody don't use a fax, you know what I mean? But I actually signed the contract and faxed it in. But the thing about it is, man, you need people in your life, man, that have your heart, that you can trust what they say. And he was somebody that can actually, that really had my heart, and I trusted what he said in that moment, because there was nobody in my circle that can really identify with what I was dealing with and going through at that time that I knew. And so when he said that, man, I said, you know what? God has positioned me for an opportunity, such a time as this. When I signed the contract, rest was history. I was with San Fran from 1996 to 1998. And now here it is, another story with the 49. I remember, because my thing is, John, remember, I was a hard worker, man. So I was always the underdog. And so I practiced as if I practiced as if it was a game. I practiced full speed. Even at Baylor, I practiced at full speed. In the NFL, I practiced at full speed because I only knew I had so many opportunities, and I wanted to make the most out of every time that I was actually out there on the football field. And I worked so hard, that guys took notice. And I played with Jerry Rice, considered one of the greatest of all time at wide receiver. John, Jerry Rice, if we're on the far end of the football field, he would take a 10-yard curl route and he would sprint to the other end zone, jog back, get in the huddle for by the time he would jog back, they would maybe win maybe about 2 plays. Get another play. He'd run maybe like a 5-yard out, sprint all the way to the other end zone. So his work ethic was unbelievable. And I'm thinking I'm working hard. I'm like, man, this guy's working super hard. And so here it is. I'm working hard. And one day, Jerry Rice came up to me after practice. He like, Tyrone, he said, I like what I see in you. I like the way you work. He said, would you mind staying after practice with me and Steve Young? Because Jerry Rice and Steve Young would stay after practice and do extra throwing and catching. And so when Jerry Rice, man, came and asked me to stay with him after practice, to shadow him, to defend him, to do a reroute drill with him, to cover him for the first 5 to 10 yards, and then kind of shadow him. For him to ask me, man, was him recognizing, man, how hard I worked, and then having the belief in what he saw in me, man. So when he asked me that, man, that was like icing on the cake, because here it is, man. He's considered one of the greatest. Here it is. He's considered one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, and he really put it on the line every day. And for him to ask me to support him at the practice, not just one time, but often, man, it's something I never forget.
Dude, you didn't let him beat you, did you?
Well, man, I'm not. Come on, man. You already know the answer to that one, right?
Well,
You know what I mean?
the other question is, did you get a good shot at him a couple times just to say, hey, I'm here, man. Don't be messing with me.
Oh, no. Dude, you're not allowed to hit Jerry Rice in practice. Dude, no, for real. When Merton Hanks, good friend of mine, played in the NFL in San Fran with Merton. You remember Merton Hanks, the long
Oh, yeah.
36? Merton Hanks, I remember my first day, we were doing one-on-one drills, DBs against the wide receivers. And I remember Merton Hanks about to break everybody. Merton Hanks, he stayed in Dallas, matter of fact. Merton Hanks was like, hey, so check this out, DBs. This is where we handle our bids against the wide receivers. We dominate them. He says, so we got a DB, we got DBs on 3, we're going to break this thing out. He's like, hold on 1 second. He said, guys, all y'all rookies, new guys, number 1, hey, guys, if you defend Jerry, do not come too close to him where you trip him, hurt him, or injure him. If you injure or hurt Jerry Rice, they're going to ask you 2 things. Going home, do you want a window or an aisle seat? Because they will send you home. You know what I mean? And so, guys, so be easy on Jerry. Don't get him injured. And so he's saying this, man. So check this out, John. He's saying this. And so literally, man, the first time we're doing a one-on-one drill, who do I have to defend? Jerry Rice. So now typically playing cornerback, you're about 7 to 8 yards off. We playing man off. It's a mini camp. You're about 7 to 8 yards off. Bro, I was about 15, 16 yards off. The coach is like, Tyrone Smith, can you please scoot up and get in the camera? We cannot see you. You know what I mean? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm taking everything literal. I'm like, hey, man, they say if we come close to Jerry Rice, we trip and me fall. They send us to the house. I'm thinking that this is real. So he ran a route. Man, I barely covered him because I wasn't even trying to come close. I mean, I'm not trying to injure him. I'm trying to make the team, not be off the team.
Yeah, you don't want to be famous for injuring Jerry Rice,
exactly,
right?
dude. You don't want to be famous, man, for that guy to injure Jerry Rice, man. But once we kind of got in the swing of things, was on the team and going through practice, it was more so like you have to kind of like learn how to practice as a pro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to learn how to practice as a pro. But I was still able to kind of work hard, man. But playing for the 49ers, man, was like a dream come true. So I've been forever grateful and thankful, man, to that organization, man, for just giving me the opportunity, especially, man, the late, great Dwight Clark. He is the guy that signed me to my contracts, man. He is the guy that really believed in me. He is the guy, man, that I would talk to on a regular basis And so I just thank God for the White Clark, man, seeing something in me, man, to give me the opportunity. You know, he passed a few years ago, but when he passed, man, that was a sad moment for me. But I was just thankful for the opportunity, man. And I'm forever indebted, man, to the San Fran 49ers.
Dude, you had some really good guys there. It just even between Jerry Rice and Steve Young.
The thing about it is, John, with the 49ers, man, it was, you know, five Super Bowl championships. And when my rookie year, Coach George Seifert, who was a defensive coordinator for the San Fran 49ers for years, my rookie year, we were getting ready for training camp on day one. He said, guys, in training camp, he said, rookies, I want to let y'all know something. In training camp, he said, rookies, we don't do hazing here. I was like, yes. He said, we don't do hazing. He said, we're about winning Super Bowls. We're about business. We do not have time to play games here. I was like so appreciative of that. But even so much so with all the veterans that we actually had on the team, like Jerry Rice, Steve Young, Merton Hanks, Tim McDonough, Brian Young, Dana Stubblefield, Chris Dolman, who was a good teammate who just passed last month. You got Chris Dolman, you got Ken Norton Jr., you got Gary Plummer. I mean, you have all these guys, Garrison Hurst, you got Ray Brown, you have Brent Jones. I mean, all these guys that I actually played with, man, and a lot of them are already in the Hall of Fame. And Terrell Owens and I came in the NFL together as rookies. So you got Terrell Owens. And so it was an awesome organization. You had Mr. Bartolo, like after every game, win or lose, he would be there in the locker room shaking each player's hand as we enter the locker room from the football field down the tunnel, man. So it was a first class organization, man, playing for the 49ers. And it was truly an honor, a joy, and a blessing, and to be connected, man, as a believer, because the team chaplain, Earl Smith, he's a team chaplain. Earl Smith and my pastor, Dr. Ralph Douglas West, they went to seminary together in Dallas, Bishop back in the day. And so to have Earl Smith that was there, man, who was a team chaplain, I would go and speak at churches. I would go to San Quentin Prison. I would go to different community groups and actually speak and just minister to people, man. And so it was just a rich and grateful and thankful opportunity, man, being there in San Francisco for the 3 years that Monica and I stayed there.
Bro, that's amazing. I love those stories. Tell guys how they can connect with you, social media, and tell them about the new projects and your organization.
Okay, man. You can connect with me. I have two platforms. You can connect with me on my personal website. It's Tyrone Smith 24.com. It's TYRONE SMITH 24.com. And there, you know, that's how I pretty much get booked to do speaking engagements, presentations, coaching, appearances. So I've been doing that for quite a few years now, almost 20 years, really making this thing happen. So I thank God for that. And I also have a nonprofit organization called First and Go Inc. And the mission of First and Go Inc. is to provide the necessary tools, resources, and outlets for you to be effective members of society. So it'll be 20 years with us running First and Go Inc. in October. And so the website for First and Go Inc. is it's an easy one. It's teamfirstandgoal.org. It's TEAMFIRSTANDGOAL.org. Teamfirstandgoal.org. We do group mentoring programs. We have a Read to Succeed reading program for students. We have leadership programs, and we do college readiness programs. We have a scholarship fund. So we really do a lot to really support and encourage and work with underprivileged youth who may not have the opportunity to be exposed to the different things that we actually offer as an organization. So I thank God for First and Go Inc. and the great work that we do. And we are looking for sponsors and donors, whether one-time givers or monthly donors or contributors to the organization. And so it's truly a work and a joy. And with everything going on right now with the coronavirus, we're doing a lot of work virtually. And so, you know, we're going to have to get more equipment so we can do virtual work from home for myself and my other teammates that do the work with me collectively. So I don't do the work by myself. I have a team as well, John, that actually go into the schools. We do group mentoring and facilitate leadership sessions as well as staff development. So I'm thankful for the work that we do, man, and I don't take it for granted that we have an opportunity to make an impact. So I'm thankful for the work that we do with Team First and Goal. And outside of that, I have a book, that I actually wrote 4 years ago called Outside the Huddle: Steps to Developing a Game Plan for Life, which is a book it's an easy read. It's a book that's based off of my life from a fourth grade up until now, where I have 8 practical principles that I apply in my life on a daily basis. And so it's an easy read to for students, for adults as well. I have a journal companion that I actually wrote with it as well. And that book can be, you can get the book on my website, tyronesmith24.com. And so I just thank God, John, man, for all opportunities, man, that God has given me. I thank God, man, for what he's doing in your life, with the father effect in regards to raising fathers up to recognize their purpose and mission to be all that God has called them to be. Because we need organizations and platforms like what you have, so people can hear, understand, and know that there's still hope, despite the fact that you may have some failed experiences, despite the fact you may be in a dead space and place right now. You can and you will overcome. But it's about, connecting with people like John and what you're doing, man, to really be to challenge guys to get outside their comfort zone. So thank you, brother.
Dude, I thank you, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man and got a lot going on, and man, I just love. I've been keeping up with you since we connected on Facebook, man. I love what you're doing for the kingdom, brother, because that's
Thank
what it's
you, man.
all about, right? Ultimately, that's what it's all about. So
Yes, sir.
we'll connect again soon, dude. Again, appreciate you, and we'll catch up with you.
Okay, man. Take care, man. God bless.
Buddy. See you. Bye.
All right, later.